What is going on, everybody? Thanks for hopping into another Monday night GG Sports Podcast live stream. I hope everybody had an amazing bye week of not being able to be frustrated with this football team. At the end of the day, when you go through a week of watching other teams play and not having that frustration or, what have you, you kind of miss it a little bit. So I'm ready to get back into talking about another game on the path to the playoffs. Obviously, as you can tell by the title, the Vikings playoff chances did take a little bit of a hit. The bottom, the wild card bracket in the playoffs, in the playoff bracket, is starting to get a little bit jammed up here. There's a lot of teams vying for it. So I mean, hopefully everyone got their rest. Hopefully Kevin O'Connell got his head on straight, because there's a lot to do. We're headed. I mean, it's a stretch run now. 5 games left, and they're all important.
Yeah. Let me do some shout outs here, because we got some people in the building, starting with our boy Gary. Sup, boys? Skull mates, what's up? The McAndrews in the building. We got Barber in the building. Barber, I heard you call into rap show. What was it? I think it was Friday, but I heard you say that you're coming to Skull Fest this year. So let's go on that, man. Let's go. I want to see you there. Got Skull Mafia. Speaking about Skull Fest and people being there, I know Skull Mafia will be there. I know he'll be there. Obviously, that's our guy right there. Same with Sodak. Our boy Sodak's in the building. Who else? Oh, got Al Smith here, man. I'm back. I'm never gonna leave you guys again. A lot has happened. Hey, I hope all is good, Al. I hope all is good, brother. Al, we got everybody in here. Yeah, man. Back to what you were talking about, though. I mean, it is you hope for a better bye week as far as like how teams did, and it started off nice, because I know we needed Seattle to lose, which honestly they should have got completely smacked by the Cowboys, but the Cowboys, for whatever, do Cowboys things where they either just dominate a team or or get their ass beat. But they ended up pulling out the win in this one, which was good for us, obviously, because we needed Seattle to lose that game. And then of course Buccaneers win, the Falcons win, the Packers win. I mean, we had a little conversation. I know you're gonna smile. Conversation on that last night, and then who was the other? Oh, the Rams won as well. So it kind of brought down our percentage or our chances of making playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's crazy. Like, because you looked at it 2 weeks ago. You're sitting there with a Denver team that actually, when we played Denver, they're pretty hot. They're on a little winning streak of their own. But you had a Denver team you could have and should have beaten. Then you had the Bears coming into US Bank Stadium. You had a 2-game lead on all these other teams.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting right there, grouped up with all these teams at 6-6, and it's crazy.
Like if we would have beat the Broncos at that time, we would have had like a 85% chance of making playoffs. Now we're sitting here at 42%. I think is the last time I saw it. I don't know. I think I got that from, actually I wanted to bring this up too, because I wanted to dive into just where we're at and what is possible for us moving forward. And I have a tweet by Dustin Baker here that I retweeted just because I like this whole thing he had here. And this is what he's kind of came up with, our probabilities going into the next 2 weeks. If we lose to Las Vegas and lose to Cincinnati, we're 10% chance of making playoffs. If we just lose to the Raiders this week, 28%. Lose to the Raiders but beat Cincy, 40%. And the same way around the other way. Right now, 42%. If we beat Vegas, 55%. And if we beat Vegas and Cincy, 72%. So if we win the next 2 weeks, we're sitting pretty. So I mean, these next 2 weeks matter quite a bit.
Right. And then after that, you have the gauntlet of division games, which at one point you're looking like the Lions around a very easy, what looked like it was going to be an easy Packer game. And I know none of us want to have this conversation, obviously, but that Packers team looks like they're starting to get some things figured out, unfortunately. And it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be tough, right? It's the Vikings fan in me is worried about that Packers game now, unfortunately. Like a couple weeks ago, you'd have asked me, I'd have said, nah, I'm not concerned at all. But that team is starting to look like they're getting things figured out. Yeah. I mean, again, as we all know, at times they do get that 12th through however many referees are on the field, add that to 11. That's how many players they have on the field sometimes. But I don't know, man. We'll see. Hopefully it's just one of those things where it's like, because we've done that before in the past. We've actually done it this year, where like you look at us, they start playing well, and you're like, oh, this team, they're never going to lose. And then you find a way to lose 2 games you shouldn't, and then they're just like, oh, never mind, this team ain't that good. So
Yeah.
But if you look at their schedule, though, that's the one thing. If you look at their schedule, they have a chance to get on a bit of a heater here because outside of us, everybody else is under 500. So
right.
Of course, though. I mean, again, they're playing the third place schedule, but Packers gonna just get, they always seem to have that where they get that.
And that was Aaron Rodgers ran Packers, and I don't think loves that guy, even if he has this quick little stretch, and everybody will just forget how he played in other parts of the season or whatever.
True, yeah.
But I'm not getting on the Packers hype. Obviously, no one wants to be on their hype train, but I'm just not popping. I'm not that worried. I'm not worried about them. I'm more worried about ourselves right now. I'm not really worried. Like if we play the Packers, I don't think they're that good. Like the Kansas City Chiefs, they've had a few shitters this year where they lost games they should have won.
Kansas City is not a very good.
Kansas City, they just don't got. I mean, Rashee Rice is starting to turn around, but otherwise, they just don't have any good wide receivers. They have Travis Kelce, obviously, who's 34 years old, right. And they don't have.
They're missing what we're missing now. I mean, hopefully with JJ coming back, it's not going to happen anymore. But they're missing that.
Would be the best receiver on that team, though. Right. KJ Osborne would be probably like the third best on
like that. They're missing that go-to receiver on offense. And like you said, I think we're finally starting to see. When you look at the Chiefs, I do think you're finally starting to see Travis Kelce showing his age a little bit. Hasn't been as effective this season as he has in years past. I mean, he's still a really good tight end, but I think you're kind of starting to see the downturn there, and that's obviously what's hindering that offense as well. I mean, it's
and he's
Patrick Mahomes doesn't have drives like he had yesterday at the end of that game, right?
Yeah,
like Patrick Mahomes of old finishes those. I mean, I shouldn't say Patrick Mahomes of old, but with weapons on that offense.
Yeah, you could just see that he was a little off yesterday. He's had a few games this year. I mean, he's had good games where it's just like he's regular Patrick Mahomes, but he's had a few games, including this one, where his throws are just a bit off. Like even that interception, or towards the end of the game there, that was just a throw he just doesn't miss, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's just looked a little bit off that game. There's been a few of them with that. But, I mean, back to the Packers thing here. Actually, let me read this comment of Al here. I'd be real. A 6-10 finish is most likely be there against the scrappy Raiders teams, and the Bengals got a defense and wide receiver named Chase, and the Packers might beat our butt at home. Then Lions are going to kill. I don't think we're going to lose to those teams. Obviously, we have not played our best football, but again, we should have beat the Broncos. We should have beat the Bears. Those are games we lost on ourselves. We just can't get all these turnovers all the time. And I'm not afraid of the Bengals without Joe Burrow, really.
Jamar Chase doesn't really matter without Joe Burrow.
It's not the same.
Good, but
it's not the same thing for sure. And we'll have Justin Jefferson back, obviously. I'm sure we'll.
But also, Justin Jefferson probably isn't the same with Dobbs. So, which we haven't seen it yet, so we don't really know. We've kind of seen Browning and Chase together. It's not what you'd expect.
Right, but I'm liking our team overall compared to theirs.
I'd
say. I mean, our defense. I mean, I think our defense has to be above what theirs is right now. I feel like
maybe. I guess
I'd have to look into that.
I know I know they have a pretty good front for sure.
Yeah. I'd have to look to see what there's. I'll do that real quick here. Hey, what up, Dave? I hope you had a good trip.
What's going on? Yeah. Welcome back.
Welcome back to. You're still
in grind.
Florida.
The grind continues.
Yeah, the grind, but you're in Florida. So those things are still pretty good.
That's true.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I just don't think I'm not worried about the Packers. I'm not jumping on the hype. Of course, it takes them 2 wins, and all of a sudden everybody's like, they come. Right. Or whatever, but I don't think they're that good.
Yeah. And it's crazy how the NFL does that though, right? Like before, after we beat the Bears, it's like, the Vikings beat the Bears, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Then we come out and we beat the 49ers. Then all of a sudden it's like, you look at that schedule, man, this Vikings team could be really good. It's like the NFL is so weird like that all it takes is 1 or 2 decent weeks for the narrative to completely flip around, right?
Yeah.
And of course, with the Packers, that comes sooner rather than later most times. It's a little bit weird without Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it's not as extreme, obviously, but
Right. And the Bengals, according to PFF, have the 29th ranked defense right now.
And again, I think it's more of the front, the front 7, maybe the front
like Hendricks is it Hendricks?
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, yeah.
Hendrickson.
But I know their corners and safeties are just kind of mid. So I mean, it's
Yeah. And actually, I mean, maybe that's something we'll do in this show too, is let's go through the schedule and kind of make predictions here. Because I mean, this is kind of like the bye. I mean, we're going into a week now, regular week, but this is kind of like a bye week show, I guess, for us. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm not worried about them too much. Obviously, we could go in there and if we play like the way we did before the bye week and we keep playing too conservative, back to that whole thing. And then obviously the turnovers is the big ones. Then we can lose against any team in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think if everything's going well and we're playing smart and stuff, obviously we have to figure out this quarterback situation, which I'll get into actually in a second here. But I mean, if we could just fix those turnovers, I think we pretty much, I'm not worried about any team besides the Lions for the rest of the year, to be honest. So.
Honestly, I think the fate of this team for the rest of this season is, I do really think it lies on the shoulders of Kevin O'Connell. Like, I think that's kind of what it's come down to at this point. It's all, because like you said, it's conservativeness, and that comes from him. And then you talk about the quarterback situation, which again,
yes,
comes from him. Whichever I did see the GJ.
I didn't see that. Did that come out today?
It did. It came out like an hour ago, and it looks.
Did they release the date? Release date?
Just like 2025. So still gotta wait.
2025.
Gotta wait a couple years, but it looks phenomenal though. But anyway, but then the quarterback situation, how well the quarterback plays, again, all comes down to Kevin O'Connell, which is why. So if anybody got the most out of this bye week, I hope it was him. I hope he was able to sit down and watch how these last two games went, and realize that, I mean, you're playing with house. Like I think I saw Purple for the Win say this earlier. Like, you're playing with house money at this point, right? Like, nobody expects you to win with Josh Dobbs, and so far you've gone 2-2 with him. Could have easily been 4-0, could have been 3-1, whatever. But like, at this point, you have your third quarterback option in there. You're getting JJ back. Why not just go for it all, right? Like why not just be aggressive, try some things? Because, like, seriously, what do you have to lose? If you miss the playoffs, you have all the excuses in the world, right? You have, well, we lost Kirk, we lost JJ. You know, people kind of figured out Dobbs. Like, we had all this stuff go on, and hey, we still did decent. We almost fought for the playoffs. We didn't quite make it. So, but like, why not just spend the rest of the season and just say F it? Like, let's be aggressive. I'm gonna draw up some plays specifically for Dobbs. I'm not gonna try to fit him into the offense we're running with Kirk.
Yeah,
and let's go. Like, you have nothing to lose at this point. No matter what happens, you know, the fan base is gonna feel how they, you know, it's, again, if you make the playoffs because you're aggressive, great. If you miss the playoffs because you were aggressive, it's gonna be like, hey, at least we finally saw that Kevin O'Connell said, F it. We're just gonna go all in and try to make the playoffs. Like,
right. Yeah.
Win-win for him, really.
100% agree. And hopefully he has that mindset, because
he needs to.
Yeah. Like you said, like, for the rest of, what do you got to lose at this point? You got, the only thing you got to, like, playing conservative in my head, that's what you got to lose. That's what's going to make you lose these games. And especially even if you go into playoffs, like, if we go into playoffs with our quarterback, whether it's Dobbs or Hall or whoever, like, you cannot go in there and play afraid at all. Like, you go, I mean, our chances are already slim once we get to playoffs. So you might as well go in there and just start, I don't know, just play aggressive. But hey, one thing again, of course, another Justin Jefferson rookie card coming back this week. That's one thing we know for a fact, and I do think it's going to make a big difference. Get those hashtag skulls in the comments. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All that good stuff. Go subscribe to Minnesota Sports Talk as well with Dave. Yeah. So where you at with the whole quarterback thing? So, because obviously, I mean, I know you wanted a little bit more time to kind of decide. When after that last game, you're like, all right, I need, like, I was trying to push it on you. You're like, all right, I need like some time or whatever. And I was already like, all right, Hall. I mean, I made a video on it. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but obviously it sounds like more than likely it's going to be Dobbs. That's what all the reports are saying. What's your opinion? Where are you at right now? Do you want to see Dobbs come back out here? Or were you leaning towards Hall? Where are you at with that whole situation?
It's tough. But first off, I want to go back to one more ththing before we get into that. And when we talked about being conservative, like, if you're Kevin O'Connell and you want your team to play for you, you got to be, because what I think, and I think that's kind of what a lot of people said when he didn't go for it, like when we were conservative on that last drive against the Bears, was to the point where it shows a lack of trust in Josh Dobbs and your offense, right? It's kind of what it showed at that point. And if it comes down, if you don't trust them, and I get it with Dobbs that already had 4 turnovers, whatever, but again, that comes back to Kevin O'Connell. Like, if you don't trust Dobbs to run your offense, then you haven't prepared him well enough to run your offense in that sort of scenario. And the turnovers, yes, there were a couple of drop passes. Dobbs had a couple of bad throws in there, but again, it all came from the fact that you were trying to fit Dobbs into your old system that you had with Kirk Cousins, and it just obviously wasn't going to work. To me, it just when you're as conservative as he was in those play calls, it shows a complete lack of trust, and that at the end of the day does kind of come back on your shoulders here. But quarterback, back to that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's so tough for me because, again, Dobbs has showed flashes. I would like to see if Kevin O'Connell can kind of get back to calling plays he was in, like he was in the Falcons game, and just make it one of those things where you don't put too much pressure on Dobbs and allow him just to do what he was doing in those games, which is making plays on the fly. You get JJ back into that mix as well, and it looks so good at times that I want to see JJ back with Dobbs. So I do think I say give Dobbs one more run, have the leash be incredibly short. But I don't want to say have Jaren Hall ready to play or have him take some reps this week, because you got Kevin O'Connell needs to make his decision now and just pick one and just have them practice as start of the whole week. I don't want to see any of that where he's going to be like, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. They're going to split reps, because that to me is not the way to do it. Like, that's a team that's worried and they don't trust either of their options, so they need to keep the opposing team confused as long as possible. Just show confidence in your guy, name your starter, and get him ready to play this Sunday with Justin Jefferson, and I think everything's going to be fine. I do think Dobbs gets one more game, and I think, I'm just going to say Dobbs. Yeah.
And obviously, I still would like Jaren Hall. It's probably not going to happen. I just think, like you've mentioned before, it's a lot to do with the coaching with Kevin O'Connell and his play calling, specifically made for like a pocket quarterback type of thing. Obviously, that's what we saw at Bears game, and you're not rolling Dobbs out. You're not doing anything where it's like you can use his legs specifically. So I think that's the main reason why I'd like to see Hall, but we're probably going to see Dobbs. And I do think that you're right. I mean, we get Justin Jefferson back, and it would be nice to kind of see what we have with Dobbs and Justin Jefferson. And I know one of the biggest things that we've been griping even before the Chicago game, or right before the Chicago game, even though they started off the game with a long or a deep throw, which I love that they did that, and they should have challenged it, and it could have been a whole different game if we won that challenge. But is just getting the deep ball. And hopefully if JJ can come here and open up the field a little bit, I think that would be the biggest difference, because like we've talked about before, all these teams are going to be constantly bringing on the rush. The fact that that's exactly how the Broncos ended up beating us in the game before, other than the conservative play calling, was they were just bringing on the pressure, and Dobbs was starting to get uncomfortable in the pocket. And then we called it going into that Bears game that if I'm another team, I'm coming in with that game plan. And they came in with us being the number one ranked offensive pass blocking, and them being the worst pass rushers in the NFL, and then had their best season as a pass rusher and blitzing and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that just showed me like you're just not spreading the ball enough where you're able to let them bring in all the pressure and cover short. And that's exactly what there's going to happen. And if you figure out a way to fix that or get that done, I think you're kind of, I don't know. I don't see how we can do a lot with Josh Dobbs in there, and maybe Jaren Hall can kind of be the difference there. But again, like you said, keep the leash extremely short. I think this for 100% sure, if Dobbs comes in here and he throws another 3-pick game or whatever, or anything like that, I think you go back and change to Jaren Hall the next week. And I have to agree with Dylan Dotson up here, though. I'm praying for Dobbs to announce as the starter. Just a simple fact, I do not want to see Mullins. I'm 100% on that. I'd way rather see Dobbs than Mullins in there right now. We know exactly what Mullins is for 100% sure, and he's a poor man's Kirk Cousins, and I definitely don't want to see that. So I'm hoping even going into this game, we do see I feel like they're not going to do it, but I want to see Jaren Hall is quarterback 2 at the very least. And if anything goes down and it's not a good game by Dobbs, you see Jaren Hall start the next week. But let me do a shout out here to our boy, to Evil, to Hope. Hi, Casey and Jamie. I trust the team to not make the playoffs. Apparently, Dave and I are at war again. Apparently, I'm not a real fan.
You two. You guys need to put the claws away, fellas. Put the claws away.
But ultimately, I'd like to see Jaren Hall start. It's not going to happen this week. I'm still rooting. I mean, I hope Dobbs comes in and JJ makes the big difference, and Kevin O'Connell game plans around Dobbs' skill set. And I'll be happy with that. And it's a short leash. If everything goes to shit, that he can come in and still be good. And then Casey is cool with the idea of rolling Dobbs one more week, especially with JJ back.
For sure. And like Dave said earlier, gotta get Dobbs out of the pocket and give him more options. And that lets him use his natural ability to run a little bit more as well. So
yeah.
But anyway, Too Evil, we appreciate the $5 for sure.
Appreciate our guy.
Did he just use his wrench powers to delete Dave's comment? I think he did. Too Evil. Come on now, man. Come on now. You can't be doing that.
Hit that like button and sub. Let's go. Thanks, Justin. Hey, everybody in here too. Justin's where are you at right now? I mean, he's over 900. I think he's around 915, 920-ish. We need to get him to 1,000. He's the next one there. Anybody in here who's not subscribed to Purple and Gold for Days, you should go. You can leave. I don't care if you have to leave us right now. You should go over there and do that.
Can we see some RPOs with Dobbs? I mean, that's what you got. That's what you got to do. That's the next development in the Kevin O'Connell growth as an offensive play caller, is being able to formulate. I mean, obviously you have a system you implement, and I get that, but you got to be able to add some wrinkles to it.
That wrench power, son.
What's going on, Frozen North? Thanks for popping in, my man.
What up, Frozen? Okay, I'll leave him alone. That's funny. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I mean, it'll be interesting. I do think that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, if you're going to have a quarterback with Dobbs and you're going to roll with him like that, you kind of have to be a little bit more creative and use his legs a bit more, especially when he's making, some bad throws, bad decisions. Yeah. And
I remember I saw someone tweet during the Bears game. It's like, how was Josh Dobbs better when he didn't know the plays? And it's actually kind of true, unfortunately. Though I do think it's one of those things where Kevin O'Connell was starting to kind of keep him in the system more.
Yeah, like Dobbs was just playing football type of thing, right? Yeah, like he's just playing his game.
And now he's trying to play a certain position, which he's just not necessarily fit for. So
right. It's like college football, college to pro style offenses type of.
I mean, and I do think Kevin O'Connell was thinking, I do think he was planning over the bye week. When he tells people like he wasn't sure which direction he was going to go in, I bet you he was at least 75-25, like for sure which direction he was going to go. Like obviously you consider things after a game like that, but I think he's had a plan in his head of which quarterback he was going to go with ever since the game ended. I think he was leaning in a certain direction, and hopefully he spent the bye week just kind of thinking of how he can better utilize them. And I know he did. He also had said the day after the game that he was going to put the quarterback in there that could best use Justin Jefferson to his full ability. So I guess we'll see what happens here.
Yeah. So speaking of Justin Jefferson, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's how big of a deal do you think Justin Jefferson coming back is? Do you think it's going to be an obvious elevation of this offense and this team? I know obviously everybody has their things of us going, what was it, 5-0 without Justin Jefferson, now 2-5, and all that kind of stuff. But what do you think? Are you thinking that Justin Jefferson comes back and we get this offense right back on track? Do you see, obviously, I know you're going to hope that KLC comes in here and, we just have a better all around offensive tack compared to what happened before Justin Jefferson was injured, because of us aiming specifically or planning everything around JJ and then being able to see what it's like without him, and then him coming back and just adding to these pieces.
I think it's going to help because the last couple of weeks, like when other teams started to figure out Dobbs and when the offense wasn't running the way we wanted it to, he didn't have that guy that he could just get the ball to or toss the ball up and just have him go make a play, right? Because Addison had a couple of drops. And then obviously KJ Osborne and him, like they haven't really seemed to have any sort of connection, unfortunately.
Yeah, they don't at all.
He doesn't, he hasn't had that guy, especially these last 2 weeks.
What up, Adam?
Yeah, he hasn't had a guy these last 2 weeks that when things aren't going well, they can just say, hey, get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Like he needs a guy that when he needs to, he can just throw the ball up there and say, here, go make a play for me. I'll put the ball in a spot you can get it. Like like the Jordan Addison should have been ruled a touchdown. I think it's or a catch that first play against the Bears. I think JJ comes down with that much easier than Addison did, and I think it's a no brainer or no question catch. And I think you can start off the game throwing to a much more like I think Jordan Addison's a reliable target, but you could start off the game with that same play throwing to a much more reliable Justin Jefferson in that scenario. So I think at the very least he's going to give Dobbs or Hall, whoever he starts, just that guy just to toss the ball up to and make a play. But I also think Justin Jefferson is, and who was it up here? I think I saw, was it Frozen North? Yeah, his value isn't nearly as catches. It's this, he subtracts 2 defenders from dealing with all other weapons. And it's going to,
including Addison,
as long as they use it correctly and don't just force feed him the ball, it's going to open up things for everybody else on that offense. So I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a huge impact merely for the fact that he's just going to give him a go-to guy when things aren't going well or just in general. And then just like Frozen North said, just for those reasons as well, drawing multiple defenders. So yeah, I think it's going to be ginormous. I think it's going to be a huge help to this team.
And that's what I have to agree with, because obviously pulling 2 defenders away from Jordan Addison and not especially any cornerback ones or whatever is going to be huge for him. And it was actually really good to see. There's a couple things I liked in that last Bears game. I like that we try to throw it deep first play of the game. I love that. And then I like that we were trying everything we could to Jordan Addison, I think he had 11 targets that game, like 6 catches, something like that. He didn't have the best. He would have had tons of yards if we would have challenged that catch. But that's nice. So we've already, we kind of seen like, okay, Dobbs has created this little chemistry of some sorts with Jordan Addison. And I'm glad that we saw that before Justin Jefferson comes back, so he doesn't like come out and feel like he needs to rely on only Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson. Is once JJ gets here, it's like he knows how good Jordan Addison is now. And he knows that Jordan Addison gets open a lot. So I think that's like a big win for us in that Bears game, an underlining type silver lining is what I mean. But hey, what up, T-Bass? KOC was the Rams ball boy, not an offensive genius. I mean, we could talk, we kind of hit on coaching and play calling, I guess. But
but again, I do think when they brought in Kevin O'Connell, it wasn't just the offensive philosophy. I think it was just like the philosophy of leading a team in general is what drew them to him. Obviously the fact that he came from a system like the Rams where their offense was, pretty high powered. I mean, that was a part of it, but I do think it was more of the whole philosophy behind building a team. But obviously that doesn't take away from the fact that he still needs to grow as a play caller, and that's being nice about it, I think.
Yeah. And obviously it is, he has a totally different quarterback than he's ever coached, at least from even when he was offensive coordinator, he had Matt Stafford and then Kirk Cousins, Nick Mullins, whole thing. I can tell he likes the idea of having a mobile quarterback. I mean, that's them going after a guy like Dobbs shows that. And then all this stuff coming up about us looking at McCarthy and Jaden Daniels from LSU kind of shows like they like that mobile type of thing. So that's kind of interesting. But he hasn't figured out how to use the mobile quarterback to their best, I guess. I don't know. So, hopefully after the bye week, and if he comes out with Dobbs, he has to know going in there that he needs to put Dobbs in situations where he can use his legs a little bit more. So I think we are going to see that. But that's only one thing with Dobbs. That's another thing with Dobbs. Like, the reality is Dobbs does make a decent amount of mistakes, and 2 of those interceptions were 100% on him, especially one of the little dump pass or whatever, which was a terrible decision. And then he had another one that was completely dropped and it would have been a pick 6. So that's something that we have to worry about regardless of KOC figuring out how to use him to his best and everything like that as well. So I don't know. What is too evil? What is the chance Dobbs starts? It sounds all the reports are coming out that he's most likely going to start. Yeah. So if I was going to put my guess, I'm going to say like 85% in my opinion.
But again, I want them to just name him starter. Like I don't want it to be like, yeah, we'll see. And like where you try to hold it back for as long as you can is going to be starting. Like that's just not a good scenario for me. Again, it shows me a complete lack of trust in both options. So I just think you got to pick one and roll with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you switch it up the next week.
Yeah, so. I think they a lot of it. I think they probably already know too, and they want to keep everybody guessing.
Right, but again, I don't like that. It shows me that you think you need to keep the other teams guessing, and that you can't just like not making the decision shows me that they don't trust.
Which could be just the truth. Could be the truth.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think that was part of the reason why they were so conservative at the end of that Bears game, because I don't think he necessarily trusted Dobbs.
Well, yeah, and I don't blame. I mean, I don't blame. I still no matter what, you should go for it in that situation. You can't be afraid. You have to stick to your guns. But obviously, I get why he was afraid. Because I mean, there was a few bad throws, and I mean, there's been a handful of moments with Dobbs where there's been dropped or bobbled snaps and like all these different things. So I mean, it's a fair thing. So
and of course, you also weren't expecting Ryan Wright to only punt the ball 20 yards. That was the other aspect of it. So.
Yeah, I know Ryan Wright. I mean, we can talk about him for a second. Obviously, he's having a sophomore slump.
Yeah,
I think we go get that Matt Ariza kid now.
Now that he's cleared of.
Yeah, he's cleared. He's cleared. So I mean, hey, that dude's what was his nickname again?
Punt God.
Punt God. Yeah,
he was the punt.
Yeah. God. Because Ryan Wright, I mean, I think hopefully Ryan Wright has a bounce back season or whatever. I don't know. It's weird with punters and stuff. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens. I don't know what goes on in their heads or whatever. Right. But yeah, this year has not been great by him.
Mm-hmm. Do any of our quarterbacks deserve any trust? I mean, absolutely not. No. But I mean, but also if you're a head coach, you got to be able to trust him in some way.
Yeah. And that's the thing is Vikings keep everyone guessing on scene.
Exactly. The best kept secret on the Minnesota Vikings going into 2024.
Yeah, I mean, he played last week, special teams. I don't know if he got any defensive snaps at all.
But it is one of those things like yesterday you're watching Jameson Williams had that touchdown run. Christian Watson had 2 touchdown receptions. Just knowing how well, what's his name for the Ravens has played. Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then you got Lewis Steen where it's like, hey, he got some special team snaps. That's cool. It is a little bit like, to watch, right?
Mafia's in New York. I think he's like near Albany or something. Otherwise we'd be chilling for sure if he was in Boston. But yeah, man, I don't know. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, we can talk about the quarterback thing all day. But yeah, back to the wide receiver stuff. I just think Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL, and I think he's going to show. I'm hoping he does. I'm hoping he shuts up some people in the comments, but there's some specific ones probably. I hope he comes in and shows that he is going to be worth every dime, and trading him is not the answer for the future. For now, never. Mm-hmm. So I think I want to come in. I'm hoping he just makes it really obvious, like, oh, okay, like, yes, we got Justin Jefferson back. And I mean, that by itself is enough for us. I mean, we have Justin Jefferson. Him by himself could have been the difference in both the Broncos in that Bears game to win those games. Like those are games that we should have won. The same with a lot of these games this season. And a lot of it does come down to how well our defense is playing. And during this bye week, there's been all these articles on Brian Flores coming in with like, I didn't realize, I don't really know enough about defensive schemes, but now I'm realizing he's kind of coming in with something a little bit new that a lot of these NFLs haven't really seen before.
I saw someone describe it as like a college defense almost.
Yeah, they took it from, there's some sort of college, so I think it's kind of a random college, but there's a coach that kind of does this, and he took that, but I think he added, there's something a little bit different with the way he's using it or something like that. So it's just something different, which is really cool. And you can see it, like, he's keeping everyone guessing. I know Dave's mentioned this a bunch of times too, is that, we've been the number one, we're the number one team in the NFL by a long shot as far as bringing pressure, but we're also the number one team with the most most 3-line fronts.
Yeah.
And bringing 7 people back. And that's the whole concept pretty much. It's like, those are the 2 things that you do. And then it just keeps people guessing all the time. So.
Ooh, you can keep 2, Darisaw, Cousins, JJ, and Hunter. I'm probably going Darisaw and JJ. Honestly.
Darisaw and JJ. Easily.
Yeah, I mean, I love me some Daniil. But But man, I mean, because it is, as Purple for the Win says, it is a passer and get the passer league. So I understand, but I mean, especially because if you assume Kirk Cousins is gone and you bring in a rookie quarterback, you're gonna want the best receiver and one of the best left tackles in the league helping him out. So I would 100% say Darisaw, then JJ. Then I agree with Justin as well. That Hunter would be the third choice if you could have a third.
Too evil. Who'd you pick? Cousins? Number one for sure. No, I definitely not Cousins. Obviously, I'm ready to move on. I'm getting more towards though if him coming off this Achilles and
here we go. Here comes the Kirk Cousins conversation. We got to have one every night.
Adam, Jamie's currently living in Boston. We should have him and Joe hook up for a beer. Jamie knew out there. Joe, who's Joe? Joe. Yeah, I'm in Boston. But oh yeah. But no, I mean this is actually kind of goes off of my other opinions because I've been thinking about it a little bit. Is just because him coming off an Achilles, obviously. That's worse. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like if you want Kirk Cousins as your quarterback for like the long term or like the next handful of years and you're like out on the idea of drafting a quarterback, it makes even less sense to me that people want him after having an Achilles.
I don't, the Achilles doesn't scare me as much as it scares some other
people.
But
it's definitely, I mean, it's significant to not having a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a bit.
It is. And the age factors, yes. But
especially someone that already doesn't use his legs, which is a reason why you like him, but he can be even more of a statue than he already is.
Yeah,
which I'm not liking that.
Injury, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to play months after tearing his Achilles. I mean,
Aaron Rodgers
I'm just saying
more athletic.
The recovery process, I think Kirk is going to be just fine. But again, I do see the point.
Yeah. Anyways, so I think he shouldn't be worth as much money or whatever. I'm not hating the idea of us if we were to keep him around for 1 or 2 more years or whatever, and we absolutely went and grabbed our quarterback for the future in the first round. I am starting to come down a little bit more because before it's kind of like you just got to get Kirk Cousins off this team just because, so that's not even an option anymore. It's just like an automatic. You're changing directions. Boom, cutthroat is that, which I do get, which is, that's why I want to do it. So there's not even an argument or anything in this anymore. But if he stays for less money because of his Achilles heel or anything like that, and you for sure go get your quarterback of the future. And at the same time, he has to know too, like, hey, it's pretty obvious here that you are kind of a placement here. And are you okay with that?
It could be a 2-year deal with the second year kind of being toilet paper if you decide to move on.
Yeah.
If he's here, he gets paid. If he's not,
yeah, so like definitely
he gets to test the market or get traded, and then or like he could do something where it's like it's not a no trade clause, but he has a say in where he goes to an extent. Like they can't just trade him to some shit team. Like it has to be a scenario in which he's okay with, but it's not a no trade clause at the same time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we have I hope it's a situation that we have a lot more room to negotiate than the last time we signed.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming probably what happened last offseason as well.
Right. So here's my thing, right? So I think you offer him a very team friendly contract, right? You have it on the table and you're like, hey, we understand. You think, you think you can make money. You go do you, right? You go ahead. This contract will be here for you. You go test the market. If you don't find a situation in which you like, you come back here, you get 1 year guaranteed. And then it'll be a 2-year contract. The second year, it's no guaranteed money. We can trade you. We can cut you. We can do whatever we want, but you have a place with the Vikings for 2024. Mm-hmm. So you go out, see what you can get. If nothing else comes to fruition, you come back. We're drafting a quarterback this year. Tell him that straight up. Be like, we will draft a quarterback at some point. And we want you to be, I know it's just a scenario. It's just a scenario. I do think but
I don't think if it's 40, if it costs 40 million, even if it costs 40 million, I'm saying
that's what I'm saying in like 30-ish, around 30, to where you say, here's 30. The thing. You go test the market. If you don't find a scenario you like better, you come here for this contract that is more team friendly. I'm not saying that he has to accept it right off the bat. That's why you say it's here. Go test the market. If there's not a scenario you like better, you come back here and you lead our team. You help develop our next quarterback. And that's an option where you as Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and the future of your team, you are keeping everything on the table. Every option is open to you if you have something like that out there.
Yeah, and
if he wants the money, he will find the money on a worse team, but he will find the money out there. He will go take that money, and that's fine. That's why you have the lower contract on the table for him if he wants it, if he needs to come back for that.
Yeah, and that's what I agree with. So I mean, obviously, there's a chance that he's like, "No, fuck you guys" or whatever,
right? And that very well could happen.
And that definitely could be. So I mean, around the 30 million, that's what I'm thinking, like 30 million, which he probably would make more somewhere else. So there's a good chance that that doesn't happen. If we do end up re-signing him for like at least 40 million a year or something like that, that's an absolute no in my opinion. But no matter what, again,
Mario.
At the very, again, if it was for 30-ish, it would only be 20 in new cash. He isn't taking that.
That's.
I don't know how it works. I don't know
on
what
the table for him.
I mean,
that's all it is.
I don't know what happens if you're 35 and have an Achilles. I do think there is teams out there that will be willing to pay him, though.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason why. But I'm just, I don't know. So he probably wouldn't.
Out there.
In this scenario, he probably doesn't take what I would want him to. But the big difference, though, as far as me and Kirk Cousins, is that I'm leaving it as an option. Like if Cousins did take a team-friendly deal, very team-friendly deal, I wouldn't hate it if we for sure got our quarterback in the future or whatever. But Justin, I mean, obviously, that's probably not going to happen in the scenario I want, but we'll see. We'll see.
Hunter Daniel Hunter for sure. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Hunter.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, everyone assumes Hunter wants to stay. He asked not to be traded at the deadline. So I do think he does want to be here.
Yeah. And he's been it doesn't get more team friendly guy than that as far as
right. And how does he keeps coming back and taking these like 1 year Band-Aid contracts when he could easily have forced his way out of town if he wanted to. Right. I do think he does want to be here. I think he likes it here. He's comfortable here.
I 100% do. Obviously, he fucking deserves to go get his bag.
If Brian Flores sticks around, then absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a good point there, too, that like he probably wants to keep
playing. Well, even without Brian Flores, man, we lose him. I mean, our pass rush is terrible. Our pass rush, all right. I mean, we have, luckily, we have
Wanham, who's
B-Flow. Yeah,
well.
Still, that's not. We have B-Flow, so, I mean, he's bringing on the blitzes and stuff like that. But imagine if he had more players with good pass rushing ability other than Hunter, and then you can say like Ivan Pace, and Wanham's been pretty good so far this year, but imagine if he actually had some studs, and without Hunter, he doesn't really have an outside linebacker, defensive pass rusher type of player on this team at all, really. So that would be pretty brutal. But that's a scenario that, I mean, could definitely happen.
Right. And then, you got to look at the draft, and you're going to need to take that position, which kind of goes back to Two Evil's question here. Do you think the Vikings will draft for need or value with their first pick? And I actually think they're going to force themselves into having to draft for need, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is quarterback
or edge rusher.
It'll be interesting. So what were you at? I haven't done my due diligence yet on the quarterback, because I think it's a fair time to be able to start talking about quarterbacks and then the draft and all that stuff. Obviously, we still have plenty of this season, but college season is starting to come to an end here.
One of the big names is off the board, though. It sounds like Quinn Ewers. Sounds like he's going back to college,
which is so weird with the whole Archie Manning thing.
I don't know, man. It feels like Quinn Ewers is going to be that guy that pops up on like the way too early mock drafts. I feel like he's going to be the number one pick, the way too early number one pick in 2025.
I think so. I think it's going to be Sanders.
I don't know.
So he's getting all the first overall. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be the guy that, like a Justin Herbert kind of. Well, yeah, kind of like.
Are you saying is it going to be a Caleb Williams, Drake May type scenario again? No. I mean, but in that light where one of them is going to be up here, but it's like, but this guy's super close behind him. He doesn't have the Sanders, because Sanders can move around better, probably, but Quinn Ewers is more like that safe.
Right now, if Ewers went to the draft right now, I'm not sure if he's a first round pick.
No, I don't think so.
But I think he's going to be that guy that shows up like a Bo Nix this season or something, even though he's younger than Bo Nix. But I think he's going to be the guy that comes up and then has a really good season and then puts himself in the conversation to be one of the top quarterbacks coming in.
For sure. And I think Dave's right on the money with this point as well. It's like there are going to be some guys going back because they want to make sure they're first rounders. I think that's true. Yeah. And I think that's. But again, here's the thing: like if Quinn Ewers goes out and he plays and he wins Texas a national championship, do you think? I mean, does he move himself into the first round?
Who?
Maybe.
Who? Sorry,
Quinn Ewers.
For next year's or for next
this
year?
Like does he change his decision if he wins a national title? Does he change his mind and be like, hey, screw it?
I think he's smart to wait. You can in Sanders too. Like that was the whole thing because they're like, hey, we can be for sure first rounders. Obviously, guys got like Bo Nix, Penix. Those guys have Bo Nix definitely has no choice.
Yeah,
but that's what scared. Like Bo Nix is looking nice, but man, it does scare me that he had like a few very mediocre seasons prior to this year, but I mean, it looks good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know obviously we got Daniels is looking like insane right now, but he's going to be like people were talking about Sanders was going to be the Anthony Richardson of this draft. Obviously he can't be. Right. Daniels is 100% the Anthony Richardson of this year's draft.
Mm-hmm. So that would be interesting. Top 5 conversation probably.
Yep. And then McCarthy is honestly the guy that you think could sneak in the first round, but I don't know if he will.
Right. So outside of like Caleb Williams, Drake May, and now probably Daniels, like there's a lot of like every other quarterback, you're like, yeah, he's got this, but he also has this, like there's going to be a lot of like, because obviously with Bo Nix, it is the struggles early on, plus
and his age.
And then you have Penix Jr., who it's the knee injuries, 2 torn ACLs. That's nothing to joke around with when you're picking a guy that you're going to invest in the future of your, like this is going to be the future of your franchise. So then there's a couple other guys coming out as well. So I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a little bit too much. It's a little bit.
That's crazy, man. I mean, he had it in the beginning of the season. Yeah, I would have gave it to him, obviously, but no way.
And then Amazon Prime.
That became a huge disappointment. It was a big. They just fooled everybody. They fooled everybody. How does he get the coach of the year for that?
And then Amazon Prime is doing like a series on him too. Like
that's crazy. That was actually part of this. There's a script and he didn't live up to it and they just went with it anyways.
Yeah. Vikings can't risk drafting injury prone players. But yeah, especially having to play at Lambeau Field every year. Like that field kills people. Like what's going on?
And same with the Bears, Soldier Field too. That's pretty well known for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have to do some digging. I personally haven't done enough digging into these quarterbacks yet, so I don't feel comfortable picking one outside of like Drake May and Caleb Williams. But eventually, I want to dive in. I can't wait. I'm excited because I do think. I mean, there's at the very least like one of those quarterbacks, I think at least one of those quarterbacks is going to be a stud outside of Drake May and Caleb Williams.
Yeah. I mean, like, do you think there could be like 5 or 6 first round picks this year? Quarterbacks?
It could.
I mean, because everyone says like they're probably going to be second round talent, but it's quarterbacks. They always find a way to move themselves up.
I think you see Daniels come up
top 10,
especially.
Top 5,
after this season, he can't go. It's hard for him to go worse unless he has a terrible like throwing pro day or something.
Yeah.
But as far as like he's gonna test out crazy at the combine and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say you'll see him. I think Penix will get picked. I think Penix actually might. I think there's a chance he's the third quarterback taken.
Penix or Daniels?
Yeah, Penix.
Interesting.
Because Daniels is. He's just been he has all the stats and like obviously winning and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, so does Daniels, but I could see that happening. But I do think he's gonna for sure be a first round pick. Bo Nix, I think that it's Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. Those are the two that I'm like, I have a feeling they might not make the first round.
Yeah. So though I saw some people have them both being in the first round. I mean, I definitely have to do my research on JJ McCarthy, but he's like that one guy in this draft that just doesn't excite me.
I know
he reminds me of just a role player, game manager. But then again, maybe that's just the offense that he's in because it's Big Ten football. So I mean,
I'll have to look at him more.
But to me, I'm starting out calling him JJ McCarthy. We'll see if he changes that for me. McCarthy.
Gary, Jamie, how are you guys doing on the betting show? You still up? I think so. I think we are. We've been busy, like even this Thursday, because last Thursday?
I was at the Wolves game.
I forgot. there's a reason why I couldn't do it either. And then the weekend before was Thanksgiving, the Thursday, and then this one I'm in California, so we have like a few weeks in a row without doing that show. But then after that, we're gonna finish strong.
Have we still been?
Yeah, we're still up.
We still been doing. Have you still at least been doing the picks?
Well, this week I didn't, so it'd be our bye week picks.
Did we last week? 2 weeks ago, Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did, and I did. I split. Okay. I think I went 3-2.
T-Bass, 100. Me and Jamie agree with this 100%. We've been saying that since like last draft.
I want I'm like, if the Vikings know they like a quarterback, even I don't even care, dude. If it's Drake. Yeah, I really don't care. If it's Drake May and Arizona's picking number 2 and they want to stay with Kyler Murray and they want, 3 first-round picks and the Vikings feel that confident, pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. I want to go grab the quarterback. That's all I care about. If they really feel like he's that guy.
Right. Yeah, but it's also tough because, I mean, I think also you mentioned Dustin Baker earlier. I think he put that tweet out there, but all the free agents that are leaving after this offseason are ready to leave who don't have contracts past this year. And there's a lot of holes to fill, man. No, just on the Vikings, like our players who are on expiring contracts. Like there's going to be a lot of holes to fill on this defense. And without draft picks, it's going to be tough. But
but you do have, I mean, it would save you money in the long run, especially if you didn't spend a bunch of money on a quarterback.
Right.
You're gonna, you got a quarterback on a rookie contract. That's gonna open up a lot.
If you go trade up for Drake May, if you go trade up into the top 10 for a quarterback, that guy is going to be your starter. Like, that's just the way it's going to be. Because I mean, I don't agree with if he's a first round quarterback, he needs to be a starter. I don't agree with that. If it's like a bottom of the first round quarterback, I do think it's fine leaving him on the bench for a season to learn. Yeah. Like, I don't. If it's a top 5, top 10 pick, and you're trading up for him, then yes.
Stroud, you say it with Bryce Young, even Anthony Richardson. If you get a quarterback in the top 5,
guy is your starter.
Yeah. Probably. And I do. So, I mean, if we do that, he's going to be the starter. Now we have him on so I think we're fine. I mean, if we got Drake, obviously it could hurt us, but man, I mean, he almost seems like him and Caleb Williams don't come around often, like almost a no-brainer quarterback picks. And there's a chance that Arizona decides, I mean, reports coming out of Arizona is they're still committing to Kyler Murray and stuff, so I don't know.
He's looked good so far.
He's been pretty solid.
All he has is Trey McBride. He has no weapons on that team.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's a number 2 receiver,
right? For sure.
Like if they get him, Marvin Harrison Jr., then I want to see how good Kyler Murray could be in that offense.
Yeah, which I don't think they will because they're going to trade to us to get Drake May.
So we can get Drake May.
But no, I don't. It'll be interesting. But anybody there, I mean, other than obvious Chicago, and I honestly, I know we've talked
still
about
on the camp that
I'm not even all the way there. I don't know how people can be 100% on camp that the Bears move on from Justin Fields.
He did not,
because he's honestly not played as bad as other Viking fans want to believe. And I mean, this last game, he wasn't looking anything. He was throwing definitely not some good passes, but I'm not completely convinced that the Bears are going to even go Caleb Williams instead of Justin Fields when they could go and get Marvin Harrison. They could still get Marvin Harrison plus insane amount of draft picks. But at the same time, it could be stupid for them not to. They're both in a really weird situation with having guys that are young, especially Murray's on a big contract. Justin Fields was a dark horse for MVP just before this season. Is only in his third year,
which was so ridiculous.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Now we're seeing it come to fruition. Yeah. Manning went 3-13 his first year. The Vikings organization doesn't have that kind of patience. Sort of. Yeah, I mean, they definitely like to put at least a decently trying to win product on the field. Like, yes, I mean, they don't want a complete dumpster fire. And to be fair, as a fan, I don't want that either. If it's me personally, Arizona can't get rid of Murray for 2 more years. I mean, they could, but I think it'd be one of those scenarios where whoever you trade him to, it's like the team you're trading him to be like, yes, but you guys need to take on some of his contract.
Yeah.
Like, well,
yeah, they're not going to get a lot. That's the thing. And same with I mean, I'm still on camp that I think the Bears get a first-round pick for Justin Fields, but I don't think I have a hard time believing that they would trade him anything less. Like if nobody's willing to give him anything more than a third-round pick, I just think the Bears are gonna. It's gonna be hard.
Well, I mean, you could hold on to him, have a competition, and then wait for if a quarterback injury happens. Then you have
Yes, but imagine if you can trade your pick. Imagine having I think there's a chance for Caleb Williams. I think there's a chance you get 4 first-round picks for that trade up to the right team.
But if you're the Bears, do you pass on the chance at a talent like Caleb Williams, or
it just depends on how you really feel about Justin
a steady
Fields.
like pro-ready guy like Drake May, and stick with Justin Fields, who you didn't trust to throw the ball at all this last game? He was thrown behind the line of scrimmage the whole time.
Yeah,
I just don't buy it. I personally just don't buy it.
We'll see. I'm a little wishful thinking here,
but it's gonna be an interesting scenario
maybe
going into the draft.
Or we just get Wentz and we don't have to worry about any quarterbacks.
Again, it's so weird to me that you don't like Kirk Cousins, but yet you like Carson Wentz. I can't get over that.
Wentz used to have some legs, but
yeah. Wentz is such a weird quarterback. Well, hey, we're talking about quarterbacks. There's still 5 games left of this season. The Vikes have a shot to make the playoffs.
Yeah, let's go through the schedule.
The Raiders. Let's bring up that schedule.
No, I'm ready though. I want to know. I don't know. I'm ready for some quarterback grabbing. Unless if the Vikings can come in here, this is what the Vikings are doing. It's their fault for losing to the Bears. The Bears. Like, you lose to the Bears, you got me going right back to the draft. That's on the Vikings for that.
Well, and that's kind of what I said going into the game. It's like, if you can't beat the Bears at home, do you really deserve to make the playoffs? I don't think so. But yeah, it is what it is.
Right.
Anyway,
what are we thinking here? We got Raiders obviously this week, when we have a show on Wednesday with Dave, Minnesota Sport Talk, called The Skull Experience. I'm sure everybody in here knows what it is, but during that show, we'll probably talk a little bit more in depth about this Raiders game, and we'll have our own pregame video and everything like that. But I mean, this is a game you should absolutely win. We should win.
See, so Davante Adams' dominance against the Vikings will end this game because he has really no quarterback throwing to him, because Aiden O'Connell, I do like Aiden O'Connell, but I like him as a backup, not as a starter. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see here. Davante Adams obviously hasn't been that effective this season. And outside of that, if you can stop Josh Jacobs, you can stop this team. I'm really intrigued to watch Max Crosby versus Brian O'Neill or Christian Darrisaw. Brian O'Neill had a really, really bad game against Chicago, so he's got to come back firing this week, because it's a tough test over there with Max Crosby. So on that side of the ball, it's all you really got to watch out for. I do think the Vikings come away with a win in this one. I think Kevin O'Connell takes the bye week. I think he gets a little more creative. I think Justin Jefferson coming back. I think it's going to be that spark this team needs to get back in the win column after 2 really, really rough losses.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I mean, their defense is not good. And I mean, they've had to release Marcus Peters and all this craziness going on. I mean, it's just a dysfunctional team. It's the Raiders. I mean, they're the definition of dysfunctional teams. Yeah. And I mean, this is a game that we should just win straight up. I mean, this is a team we should dominate, honestly. And it just comes down to, are we going to get the turnovers? Are we going to get the conservative play calling, all that stuff? Obviously, we know as Viking fans this year, we can lose against any team, but we could also probably beat any team. Again, speaking of those teams, 49ers are like the easy number 1 team in the NFL again, because of them beating up the Philly, a team that we dominated that game for the most part. Maybe the scoreboard wasn't as dominant, but we did dominate that game against a really good team. So we should beat the Raiders. Obviously, who knows what happens. We'll see what KOC does through this bye, but I think we do beat them. And then go into this Bengals game again without Joe. This would have been a whole different ball game without Joe Burrow. But with Aiden O'Connell, with the quarterback for the Raiders, and then Browning, the quarterback for the Bengals, I think you got 2 not very good quarterbacks, or one for sure is very just inexperienced, and one's obviously a quarterback too for his career. I mean, if with Brian Flores' defense and feeling confident about them, I just think you should be able to beat both those teams, specifically with your defense alone, as long as our offense doesn't have 3-4 turnovers in a game.
Yeah. And so I'm never team tank, like I said, but man, if you can't beat the Raiders and then you go into Cincinnati and you start looking like absolute garbage, you might as well lose the rest of your games, because what the hell's the point at that point? Like, those if you're not supposed to lose those last 2 games, then you can't lose these next 2 games. And I get it; they're both on the road. And again, the Raiders do have some talent on that team. The Bengals as well, but they really have no quarterback getting the talent the ball. But these are 2 winnable games, especially with you getting JJ back. And outside of the quarterback position, you're going to be back pretty much near full strength again. So you have to find a way. You have to find a way to win this game, both these games for sure. And I do think they pull them both out.
Yeah. And 100% agree. If we lose both these games, I'm like, I'd rather not win the last 3, to be honest. The Packers will suck, but whatever. I do think we're going to. We should. Justin Jefferson's back. I think it's going to make the difference regardless of who our quarterback is. And I think we win both those games. All right. So now the Lions game. I think
we win one. I think we take the home game.
And that's this one here. So we go on a streak. We beat this Raiders team. We beat this Bengals team. We get some momentum going into our first matchup against the Lions, and we come out victorious. The Lions team that is not looking great, who have allowed, what they allowed the Bears had stomped on them, and then they came back on the Bears because the Bears are the Bears. And then the next week they lose to the Packers, I believe, right? And then this game, they came out swinging against the Saints, and the Saints almost came back to win. So the Lions have not been playing their best football of the year. If we're on a 2-game win streak, I think we can go in there and beat this Lions team on paper for sure, I think. But I think the Lions home at W for us for sure.
All right. And then you got two tough ones in a row.
Packers easy. I say, yeah. I think we absolutely should beat the Packers. I'm just thinking, like, if it's a game where we don't get turnovers, like if there's a game that we don't get turnovers, I think we're the better team than the Packers.
Yeah.
So I do think we beat the Packers.
Yeah, I take Jordan Love slightly ahead of Josh Dobbs if we had to pick between the two quarterbacks. Just because Jordan Love is playing some really good football right now. I mean, give the kid credit where it's due. I mean, I think they're putting him in a good spot.
We got to be honest here. Josh Dobbs has not shown enough to act like he should be anybody's starting quarterback in the NFL. Jordan Love at least has the arm talent and he's going to throw a lot of interceptions, but he has the arm talent and everything to be a good quarterback here. Dobbs, I liked what we've seen from him up until these last couple of games or whatever, but Josh Dobbs really hasn't done enough to prove like, hey, I should be a starting quarterback here. So I don't know. I wouldn't really compare them. I would take my chance on Love over him, even though I don't think Love is that good though.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at the teams compared to each other, I take the quarterbacks, receivers. I take us for sure because I think Christian Watson is still kind of gimmicky. Like I don't think he's going to be like consistently good from week to week just because he's kind of like that type of player.
Right.
Tight end. Yeah, I know. Dylan 100%. I 100% agree. I think it's hilarious. We were saying we should beat after losing to the Bears on Monday Night Football. Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. But yeah, I mean, I think we have better receivers. We have better tight end. I take their running game over ours, and then defense. I think we're pretty.
After the review,
I do think we're pretty even on defense. But I don't know. It's either we win that game in a close one, or that's just like the one game where, because it always happens where we're on a streak, we're riding high 3 games in a game we should win against the Packers, and for some reason we always find ways to lose those football games. At this point, though, looking at it, let's just go ahead because I don't want to have to say the phrase 9-8, which is what they'd be if they lose the next 2. So let's just say they win that one and lose to the Lions and get to 10-7.
Hey, let's go.
Then there's no 9-8 here. Then I don't need to listen to you talk about. There we go. We're 9-8 now. Like I predict.
Well, that's what's going to happen if we keep
very
on
tops. Very well could.
But no, that's what's funny. I think it's hilarious. You were saying we should be. I know you already said this, but after losing the Bears on Monday Night Football, that's the thing though. Is like obviously we should have beat them. We should have beat the Broncos. We should have beat the Eagles. That's just the season that it is. There's a lot of we should have beat these teams.
A lot of coulda, shoulda.
And we should beat the Packers. I don't know. I'm not afraid of them. I don't think they're that good. I think all their wide receiver. I think all their pass catchers.
And they're playing a third place. And they're playing a third place schedule. Like it's pretty. Like Dave said earlier, it's a cake schedule. It's super easy.
Yeah. And I think we win that game. Especially how we looked against them last time. I know you had Kirk Cousins in there for most of the game, but still, I'm not worried about it. 9 wins at best. Sorry. That's fair. I'm hoping not. That was like the whole thing. That was the whole thing from the beginning of the season was us sitting there saying after the 1-4 or what is it? 1-4 start, right? 1-4 start was like we were saying we're going to end up being 9-8. We're going to be 9-8. And that is exactly what is happening here.
Sneak into the playoffs, lose the first game, draft like 20th.
Yeah. The thing I didn't expect was us to go on a freaking heater and be one of the better looking teams in the NFL for a second there, to go and lose games to the Broncos and the Bears the way we did back to back and kind of put us right back into this mediocrity situation.
Yeah. So, the Broncos loss was like, okay, the Broncos are playing pretty good football. The Bears loss is absolutely inexcusable, especially with the way that they lost that game too. So,
hey, what up, Dan?
Only won one more game. It'll have to be versus the Packers. That's what I said about the Gophers too. I'm like, if they win one more game this season, I want it to be Wisconsin, and they lost. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, we're gonna win. We're gonna win this week. Ooh, I think we can.
I really hope so, Barber. KOC will come up revamp these next 5 games. He absolutely absolutely has to.
He just has to he has to have that same mentality he had in the San Francisco game, the first Packer game, and that Atlanta game.
You're playing with house money, man. No one expects you to do anything with Josh Dobbs, so why not just toss everything,
win games,
everything in your playbook, toss it out there, be creative, drop some plays. Like let's get it done. Come on now.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking. I think that's how. I mean, obviously hopeful, very hopeful that KOC comes out and is just like changes his mindset. The only thing that scares me is just after that Broncos game with the second half there and him being very conservative and him acknowledging him being conservative and then coming out into the Bears game and was concerned. Yeah, I know. So that's the thing that scares me about him is like you're saying these things and then you keep coming out and playing with your emotions. It's like, no, we don't. That's not how. But then also, like,
I think you said it last year too, where Dobbs throws the deep shot, incomplete, doesn't challenge it, whatever. He tries to make some throws later on, turns the ball over. Like, is it Kevin O'Connell? Like, I don't want that to happen again. And he's kind of hinted at that sometimes too in his post-game pressers where it's like, we already had 4 turnovers. I didn't want to turn over a 5th time. We're back to -3 on the season in turnover differential. So I don't want to, I want to get that back to 0. It's like, you can't let that type of stuff dictate how you're going to, situational, man, situational football. He says he does the situational masters things. Like, well, guess what? You did not master that situation. Against the Bears.
See, and that's why
now we're in this predicament where we're sitting here worried about a couple games that should be winnable.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, his situational.
But again, and that's why I said, like, he always last year was always the situational masters. They have the meetings every week, and it's just this last year were they masters of those situations? Sure, they found ways to win. This year, not so much.
Right. Unless we were down by points. If we're down. That's the one thing about KOC that needs to be talked about more, though. I mean, the dude's a fucking monster when he's behind. Like, what coach has ever no coach. I don't even know a coach has ever done that ever to have as many comeback victories in his first 2 years as a head coach. He's got to he's got to hold the record for that. Yeah. So that's insane. And that just shows to me, when he needs to win, he draws everything up. He plays the way he needs to all the time. It shows it's in him, but he needs to be able to, like, he has no choice. This is his only option is to go down and try to win the game. That's the only time you have to win. He needs to be able to have that same mentality throughout the entire game, especially when we're up in these games now. So hopefully, and we've talked about it before, is KOC just needs to stay consistent. And that's why I like, what's his name with the Lions, Campbell is just stays consistent, and you've seen him grow as a coach too. And of course, there's going to be 100% chances that he goes for it on 4th down
and doesn't work.
And it doesn't work, and it's going to happen all the time. But he stays consistent regardless, and eventually he's going to start realizing he's going to become a better coach and better in those situations as it goes. But he still sticks to his guns and stays consistent with the way he wants to play, and that's what Kevin O'Connell needs to do. He needs to stay consistent with coming out with keeping the foot to the gas, throwing an entire game.
And like the thing with Campbell, it shows trust in his guys. It shows trust. He's like, I trust my team to pick up this first down. And that's the biggest thing when you're going to be a coach is you got to show trust in your players. And there's been too many times where you can tell O'Connell just doesn't trust what's on the field. Just like Josh Dobbs sometimes doesn't trust what's out in front of him. So it's just like, it's one of those
which
things.
Is fair. I get it.
Right. Yeah, me too. But like if you're a coach, you have to hide that, and you have to show the ultimate confidence that your guys can get it done. Because guess what? They'll sense that.
Yeah.
When you play safe, they're like, well, he doesn't trust us to win this game. He doesn't trust us to get it done. Like that's all part of leadership. How do you expect your team to play
especially when it's offense? You trust your defense. He's obviously trusts his defense to come in and hold. It's like that's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be our offense doing that for us this season, not our defense. Especially that's what made me mad about that last game. It's like you just let your defense carried their team this entire game, 4 turnovers, and you make them come back on the field when they shouldn't have had to come out and get this final drive. Yeah.
And it's almost like he was setting it up for like, well, hey, if we lose, then guess what? Like the recency bias is going to go straight to the defense. And we were saying that's like, the defense played pretty soft on that last drive. Like you think about that after, it's how crazy that was that we were kind of even thinking about talking about the defense in that scenario. And maybe that was part of the game plan. Like make the defense the last ones out there to give up the big play. So if it happens, my offense, hey, we got you in position we got the lead.
Yeah.
You guys had to make one more stop and you couldn't, like, I mean, and I don't agree with that. I'm just saying, like, was that his mindset? Who knows? But again, like,
hopefully he just comes back out after this bye.
He had to do a lot of searching. He had to have over the bye week.
And he's a young coach, I think, and it is very fair to say. And I agree, the coach is scared when we have the lead, and it really is. Like, I think Kevin O'Connell hasn't been able to really gain experience coaching with us with the lead to like a ridiculous extent. Obviously, from our last, I mean, I already mentioned it before, but our record last season with our 1 point or 1 score games or whatever, is that he hasn't had a lot of chances. And we've seen it. I mean, the Saints game was probably the most significant game that we've seen him have the lead and then become very conservative and let them coming back. So that's one thing. And at the very least, though, we did kind of see him grow as a coach as far as being able to score points and catch a large lead, because that's something else that we never really were seeing out of his offenses is getting a big lead earlier on. Is either we're tied or we're losing by a little or winning by a little. And we've been able to see him get past that with the San Francisco game, with the Green Bay game, with that Saints game. And now it's like he just needs to learn how to coach with the lead, which means he just needs to continue coaching the way he just needs to stay consistent with his coach style.
For sure.
Ultimately,
KFC is Brad Childress' personalities isn't a compliment. See, but I don't agree with that 100%, because I think Brad Childress, I don't think Brad Childress was a good leader, right? And nowadays, with the way the world has gone now, you do need leaders like Kevin O'Connell to lead your football team. And as I said, when you listen to him talk, he knows the game. But is that a flaw? Could that be a flaw in a certain way? Sure, because you're a head coach football team. You do got to be a little bit rough on your guys if they're not performing well. But it all comes back to him at the end of the day. I think he's a phenomenal leader as a head coach. But again, if you're going to be the head coach / offensive coordinator / play caller, they're not going to care about, because like the game management stuff, the challenges, the timeouts, people still nitpick at that as well. But you're going to have that plus the fact that your offense isn't working. And the things people care about is what you like. Yeah, the locker room stuff is cool. The fact that the team wants to be together is cool. The fact that they play well together is cool. But at the end of the day, the fans watching the game are going to see how the offense performs on the field. And it's known Kevin O'Connell is the offensive play caller. So you can be as good of a head coach as you want, but if you're going to have that title of offensive play caller, that's what you're going to be most known for. And we're seeing the fruits of that right now, that people don't trust Kevin O'Connell as a head coach because of the way he calls his offense. And he's a phenomenal coach. Everybody can see that he's a phenomenal coach, but not a phenomenal offensive play caller. And that's what you're going to be known for the most out of everything right now. And that's why the fan base is kind of starting to turn the other way.
Oh, sorry. When Swag offered Xmas is closed. Dang, I keep forgetting about that, man. Know what? This week for sure. I'll hit you up right after this and we can figure something out.
Yeah. And Joe, yes, I mean, he needs an offensive coordinator to call his plays. But the only thing that worries me about that, though, is I do think if he has an offensive coordinator, he's going to be kind of right in his ear being like, here's how I want to play. Here's how I want my offensive philosophy to go. So, I don't necessarily know if having a different offensive coordinator / play caller would help necessarily.
Feels like we'd be 8-4 with Kirk right now. I don't know. I'm not convinced on that because we were 3-4 before. So, I mean, we lost more games with Kirk Cousins than we did with Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, but when Kirk got hurt, this team was absolutely.
It was. And you never know. I mean, we could have easily been 8-4.
It's so hard. It's so hard to say because again, like people say, a lot of those scenarios. Do I think the play calls are different? Sure, but at the same time, like there's a lot of scenarios where Kirk probably maybe takes a shorter check down where Dobbs is able to.
I think Kirk Cousins is very conservative too. I think he's very conservative too. I think they're both
but also then you realize though when Dobbs doesn't take a simple check down, or you watch other quarterbacks who are able to take a check down and turn it into something. That's where you appreciate Kirk Cousins, where he doesn't have the Josh Dobbs' ability to scramble and score touchdowns like he has multiple times.
Right.
And in those has won us games for sure.
Yes.
But also you look at it, you're like, God, I wish Dobbs had that instinct of I just got to get rid of this football and not take the sack and not do this and that.
And then to Kirk Cousins, and you see like guys like Mahomes and other guys like that in the world. And then you go back to Kirk Cousins and realize what you don't have in him. So it's like you can say weird. Like, yeah, don't you wish he would have thrown that ball short or whatever? Like Kirk Cousins could have, it's like, yeah, I wish Dobbs would. Dobbs isn't Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is also nothing to be like he's gonna come and bring us a champion. Kirk Cousins isn't enough. He isn't enough either on his, just because we compare him to Dobbs right now. It's not like that's not that great. I mean, that's not even a fair comparison, Dobbs to Kirk Cousins, but comparing Kirk Cousins to like the better quarterbacks of the NFL, not statistically, but from like a winning standpoint, all
of that to say, maybe we would be 8-4 if Kirk Cousins was playing. I don't know.
Or maybe we want to be, because I don't think it's okay.
At the end of the day, no matter, it all depends on which side of the line you're on with Kirk. If you think we'd be 8-4 or not, we can end it there and move on to something else. Because I think we could be.
I think we'd be in a better position with Kirk Cousins 100%. Right. Though, am I on this team like, oh man, if we had Kirk Cousins, we'd make it to playoffs and go deep into playoffs or anything? No, there's no reason to believe that, because we were 3-4 when he got hurt.
But again, you got to think of the way that the team was going in a different direction when he got hurt. I don't know. There were so many different scenarios that happened for the 3-4 start. I don't think it's not fair to say we'd be 8-4 with him, but it's also not fair to say we were 3-4 with him to start. And that we
obviously we won't know. It's both.
Mary's got a different take here. Go with Mullins.
Believe KFC will go with Mullins. Do you want Mary? Do you want him to go with Mullins, or do you think he's going to go with Mullins? What's up, Mary? By the way, what's going on, Mary?
Here, appreciate it. That'd be an interesting one.
I don't want it to be Mullins. I just exactly who Mullins is, and and this is where it comes from. Oh, she says no. Yeah, because I just don't want to. I don't want to see a statue quarterback anymore. Like, I'm just so obviously I'm over it. Obviously, but. Yeah, I don't know. So we're gonna draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, I would do. Or one of the ones that slips out of the first round in the second, or we trade up to the bottom of the first round and grab one of those quarterbacks that's left at the bottom just to get the extra. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but at the end of the day, the Vikings still have to go and win. Try to win these next few games. Because if you're going to be picking in the middle anyway, you might as well just try to make the playoffs and see if you can make something happen.
Yeah.
And it all starts against the Raiders in Las Vegas. Yeah.
But if you lose to the Raiders and the Bengals, just bench your whole team. At least, at the very least, you're 100% starting Hall in those games. And then you're just padding JJ's stats as much as possible.
Or you're just benching, or you're just gonna sit JJ out and just say, here, sign this paper, sign your contract, please.
Yeah, that's cool with me too. Whatever. Yeah, I know we're gonna be in a weird situation, but if we beat the Raiders and the Bengals, we're looking pretty good at that point to at least make playoffs. And I don't know. Hopefully, if the conservative thing gets figured out, and obviously the turnovers is a big deal. I mean, who knows what this team could win a game in the first week of playoffs. Like, I mean, we should have beat the Eagles already. We beat the 49ers, obviously with Kirk Cousins and stuff, but still.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we have a weird team. We got a weird team.
We'll know by the end of the first quarter whether or not Kevin O'Connell did any soul searching over the bye week. If we come out and we just play the same, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, what are we really doing here then?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because he's been doing all right in the first quarters, even in these last games.
But you'll be able to tell how his play calling goes, how the scripted plays go, whether or not it's just going to keep being more.
I'm hoping he needs a refresh with this. Like we're talking, like situational is a definite and arguably the biggest. Has been his biggest con so far this season, and not under like him being so conflicted when to go for it on fourth down and when not. Like, I feel like he's just in his head with like, all right, I'm not going to be conservative here. I'm going for it on fourth down. And then all of a sudden he goes for it twice on fourth down and then he kicks a field goal, or I don't know. He doesn't really know, or this is like, you should definitely go for fourth down here. And then he plays conservative. I feel like he's kind of in his head as in situational moments right now. And hopefully maybe the bye week kind of cools him off a little bit. But because something's really weird and random with the way he decides to go on 4th down. And like a lot of his plays feel very, very random.
Joey Hawking, why is everyone so delusional? Just because you draft a quarterback in the 1st round, he will be the future. I don't even think it's necessarily the fact that we're just trying to get one in the 1st round. I think it's the fact that if they are willing, and unless they ponder this, where like Christian ponder this, where it's like they just take a guy because they're like, oh no, we missed out on everybody else, we need to take one. But if they take a guy who has 1st round talent, at least it shows, it's not that he's going to fix everything or that he's going to be the future. At least it shows that they're willing to take a chance on someone who they think they could develop into being the quarterback in the future.
But the big thing,
it's not necessarily the thought process of like, because yes, there's a ton of 1st round busts, and I don't want them to force themselves into taking a quarterback, but I do think if they take one, at least it shows that they trust the guy and they think that they can develop him into something with this football team.
Yeah, but and I would say it's this simple. It has nothing to do. Do we think that we're gonna go get a 1st round pick and he's for sure going to be our guy? I don't know that for sure. What I do know is that's the kind of stuff you have to do if you want to win a Super Bowl and you want to build a dynasty and you want to do anything like that. That's what it takes. It's just that simple. It's not about like, will he be the guy for sure? It's about taking the chance on him being the guy, because that's how you win Super Bowls. That's what it is for me. Like, I'm not going to, like, if we draft a quarterback in the 1st round, there's a good chance that he's a bust and we never win a Super Bowl. Definitely a chance. And then and now the next 5 years is pretty much wasted unless, you have really aggressive GM and they just recognize that early and get someone else or something like that. Yeah. Or you can get really lucky and you're a quarterback that you traded 3 1st round picks and Trey Lance, and then you draft a guy in the 7th round and he ends up being your franchise quarterback. Like, that's really lucky. But otherwise, that's what teams that win Super Bowls do. You got to get a franchise quarterback.
Unless you're the Patriots.
Yeah, well, they got, and I mean, you still have a franchise quarterback. So pretty much like to win a Super Bowl, or especially to create a dynasty, especially in the NFL right now, you need to have a franchise quarterback in some capacity. How you get them is getting them in the 1st round is probably your best chance, but still, it's not a very good one.
Well, I mean, to build a dynasty, you need to have a quarterback who you're not paying a lot of money to. Because look at the Chiefs now, right? Like,
well, they won the Super Bowl just last year.
What's that?
I said they just won the Super Bowl just last year.
Right, but look at them now. You're starting to see that they can't pay anybody else, and that's why their team is kind of hurting right now.
Well, even Tom Brady
took that's the thing, but like, and I think like people, when you look at the Chiefs, you realize now you look at what Tom Brady did for that team by not taking big contracts, and it's actually pretty amazing. Luckily for the Patriots, Tom Brady was married to Giselle at the time, right? But like, I think you're starting to see that and that's why you got to do it on the rookie deal, where you can win 1 or 2 while you're still not, because the Chiefs, I know they won it last year when they were paying him a decent amount of money, but they still had some guys left under contract, right? So, and Travis Kelce was still Travis Kelce, where now you're starting to see the slip just a little bit. But
you were going to get Skull Mafia. You're going to believe me, it was ugly cry when I found out. That's so awesome. Yeah, that's the main thing with the quarterback thing. I think if you grab one in the 1st round, it gives your best odds that you can have a franchise quarterback. There's other ways to do it, but you got to get way more lucky.
It's lucky to get your franchise guy in the 1st round. It's even more lucky to get him later.
Yeah, because there is guys like Andrew, there is the Trevor Lawrences out there, the Joe Burrows, the Andrew Lucks. Like, there is players
even Tua right now,
and Tua, Tua.
Herbert. Justin Herbert, once they get rid of freaking Brandon Staley over there, he's going to be playing a lot better.
And Caleb Williams this year, those obviously potentially him and Drake May, but these are the guys that like people were saying are going to for sure be good, and then they were franchise quarterbacks. So I mean, there's something to be said about like, it is possible to give your odds as best as they can. And then obviously, if you don't have the worst record in the league, you might have to go trade up for it, and it could screw you over. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to do whatever we got to do to try to win a Super Bowl. And whatever we're doing right now is not the way. Maybe it's not the way to be a bad team, but it's not the way to win a Super Bowl. And we want to win some Super Bowls. But
how do you guys feel Levis is doing, getting thrown in halfway through the season? Think we missed on him? it's really weird with Levis. I think actually after yesterday, I'll say I think you're starting to see both sides of things. Like you're starting to see the moxie on the field. You're starting to see the arm strength. Starting to see a lot of things people liked. His stats have been okay, but then you're also kind of starting to see. He got into it with DeAndre Hopkins on the sidelines yesterday. Like I think you're starting to see maybe that side, like the attitude of him too, a little bit.
Yeah.
That it'd be interesting to see how that all started. Like if he was full on the aggressor in that, because he is still young and he's yelling at a really good receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. So maybe that is. But then again, do you want people say that about Kirk Cousins? He's not fiery enough. Do you want to see that from your quarterback? It's interesting. I think Will Levis has shown that he's their starter next season. Like I think he's definitely earned the back to go into next, like earn the right to be their starter going into next year. So to say we missed on him, though, I wouldn't have taken him in the first round at this point. Kind of seeing what we got. So I don't know if we necessarily missed on him, but it'll be interesting to see how he develops there.
Yeah, after that first game, it looked like we missed for sure after that first game, but then he came back to earth after that. And I mean, he's a second round pick still. I mean, obviously he's a rookie, so you're going to invest a little bit more into him.
Practice time.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Imagine if the Eagles would have said after Jalen Hurts' first year with them, if they were just moved on from him, because he was like. Yeah. He looked like he had potential, but didn't really do that much.
Which, by the way, you mentioned Jalen Hurts. You want to talk about like getting your guy in the first round and Carson Wentz, who looked good for those first couple seasons going into that Super Bowl,
and then grabbing a guy in the second round
to have the opportunity, to take Jalen Hurts in the second round, and he turned out for them. So it's like,
right.
Of course, there are.
But then you also have to be a GM that's willing to do that, though. Like go and grabbing a quarterback in the second round.
Everybody hates Howie Roseman, like Vikings fans do, because Eagles, and he's kind of like people think he's annoying. But man, that dude is one phenomenal GM for sure.
Hey, JJ, let's go.
Anyway, we've already been on for almost an hour and a half. I didn't realize.
All right, let's do this giveaway here.
Absolutely.
Everybody get those hashtag goals in the comments. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hopefully everybody has. But I think his physical build alone is intriguing. I mean, he definitely has a lot of stuff. The one thing about him is he has not been running at all, though. He's not been really using his legs so far in the NFL. Which he wasn't.
I mean, it could just be like he's not 100% comfortable in that offense yet. I'm sure that's a part of it.
Yeah, but he will. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that you don't see that, but we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I liked him going into the draft for sure. Like I thought, like the intangibles were really nice. Like the size, the arm strength, all of that.
And with the quarterback thing, like you were saying though, no matter who we pick, like I'm hoping we really like that player.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if there's a player we really like and we just do whatever we have to go get him, I want to feel like this is their guy and not the whole, like you said, the Christian Ponder thing where you're just like, oh, all the quarterbacks are going, but we need one. And then you go grab a Christian Ponder.
Right. So I guess I'll ask you this. So if we don't draft a quarterback this year and they ask them about it and they just say, like we like two guys and they were both gone early on and we just didn't think any other quarterback really fit our team. We didn't want to take a chance. Are you going to be upset with that? Because I know you really want them to get a quarterback this year. But if that
sorry, say that again. I was looking at something real quick. What are you saying?
Like, would you? So I know you're big into wanting them to draft
this one this year.
Yeah. So like let's say there's three guys they like and all three of them are gone. Would you rather them just? Because again, we don't want them to take a quarterback because they feel they need to.
Yeah.
So would you rather them just pass? And if they give the explanation of there's nobody that we thought was worth it at our picks.
Yeah, I would hate it. It sucks. I don't want them to do that. Yeah, but that's what kind of.
It's an interesting thought though, because again, we don't want.
I don't want to force a quarterback.
We want it to be their guy, and that's the scary part.
Right, and I'm hoping like if there's a guy there at your pick, even if you have to like if there's let's say it is I don't know. I think Bo Nix. We'll see what happens in the offseason. Let's say Bo Nix was their guy.
Forced into it. Teams are forced into taking quarterback they don't want to, but do you do it in the first round though? That's the question.
That's the thing. Round, like, what if there's a guy that you really like Jalen Hurts was a second round pick. Like, let's say you really like Jalen Hurts, but you're like, well, I don't want to pick him in the first round, but you still really like him.
You can get him in the second. Then I say go for it. Like if they take. Because a second round,
don't be afraid to go next year. Like if we go grab a guy in the second round this year, which I'm not like if we pass, I don't think like see what you got in them or whatever, and go into the next draft and go get your don't be afraid to do that. I guess
right. Like, that's the thing.
I'm cool with it. If they, aren't like, go find your franchise quarterback,
right.
like these other teams have been doing.
If they take a significant need, like if they take an interior defensive lineman or an edge rusher if Daniil leaves, right? If they take not a corner, if they take one of those positions in the first round and they take Bo Nix in the second round, I'm 100% okay with. I'm 100% okay with that. Like because that's the thing. It's like a second round pick isn't a significant enough investment to where you can't move on in a season or two if you just don't feel like they're the right fit. So like if they do that, I'm on. If they take a guy they really like in the first round, or if they end up with a Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy in the second, it's like good. It's low risk, but it could be a high reward for you. Just like a Jalen.
I think I'll do some more research on these quarterbacks. I don't know how I feel like even JJ and Bo Nix. I don't know how I feel about them being first round quarterbacks yet, but I think
I'm just spitballing names.
Right now, if we picked either of those guys in the second round, I'd be like, all right, or whatever, you know. Dylan, Jamie, I waited until the end to say this, but continue to soak in the T-Wolves' success. First in the West is big time for now. I know, dude, that Nuggets game, it's been a while. We talked about it since you've been on here, right? The Nuggets game, but yeah, dude. No, we're pumped here. We're pumped here on the Timberwolves. And actually, technically, they're number one in the NBA right now because they're tied with the Celtics. And we break the tiebreaker because we beat them. So let's go. It's crazy to see a Minnesota team. And the Timberwolves are different because the Timberwolves look like they're good. Like this isn't like fake good or where like you lose to a bad team. Like even like Vikings right now. Like what we were on that really nice stretch, but it's like, it feels like we could turn things around, but there's just always something missing or whatever. Like 2017, it was like, we're a good team, that 2017 team. And then 2009, it was like, no, we're like I think we're the best team in the NFL. So it's been a while since we've really felt like that for the Vikings, but the Wolves, that's kind of the feeling you're getting. Are they the best team in the NBA? I'm not really ready to say that yet. But you can definitely see they have the makings to be one of the best teams, and they're going to be one of the best teams for a while. So, and I've never really had something, or us Minnesota fans, we really haven't had any sort of like dynasty potential type of thing like that. Maybe the Twins in the early 90s, late 80s or whatever, but I wasn't alive yet, so it doesn't count for me.
I think I might just. Oh, great. So yesterday, my fantasy team loses Tank Dell for the rest of the season.
Yeah, mine too.
And now Christian Kirk apparently got hurt tonight.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It was like, it's because we're going on this.
So if he's hurt seriously, I'm upset and I'm sad. I'm going to cry.
Also, Casey,
these are the ones we got from the game.
Yeah. That's a game. Yeah. And anybody that went to Skullfest and then the game got one of those hats. All right, let's run this thing. 3, 2, 1, boom. Who we got today? I don't know. I feel like, come on. I'm rooting for Mary here. Scope for Life Barber. Are you in the building? I haven't seen you in a little bit. Scope for Life Barber. We'll have to re-go. We're going to re-go. Oh, he's here. What up, Scope for Life? Barber, you are the winner. And we already got you on Twitter, right, Barber? I believe that's where we've communicated before.
So apparently people are saying that he might have, because he came down and his legs like smashed together. So they're thinking he may have gotten something pinched in between his thighs. And that's where the pain's coming from. I really hope so.
Yikes. Just cut them things off and you're good.
They're saying groin injury, which I don't love.
Angler in here with the Go Pack Go. That's crazy. Yeah, Dylan, you're definitely coming this year. I know Barber's coming for sure. Not through email. You still have our emails, Barber? I'll just put it in here just in case. I'm sure you do, but I'll just do it. Yeah, Dylan, no. I know Barber's going to be there this year. That's what he said anyways. I heard him say it. I'm counting on him being there. But no, Dylan, we got to get you out there. Obviously, we're going to do this every single year for the rest of our lives. So, I mean, there's going to be more opportunities, but this is going to be the second one. It's only going to get crazier every year, though. All right, cool. Barber, cool. I'll never miss Skull Fest. I'll be dead. That's right. That's my plan. I'm going to be there all the way from New York. Damn straight. I already know. And I will be at Skull Fest. Let's go. Dude, I'm so excited for this year's. I don't know what the plan is for sure. I don't know. Obviously, we got a while before we have to figure that out.
I guess it all kind of depends on when the home opener is, right?
Yeah. But no, it's going to be sweet. I have such a busy beginning of September. I'll try to work it out. Wedding season is about to kick. Are you getting married, Dylan? Or are you do you have some weddings to go to? Joey, are you out of Minnesota? I just got your. Are you out of Minnesota? I forget, but no. Skullfest is our where we get everybody in Purple Gang together and we throw our Vikings party pretty much. But we had our first one last September, and we had Skull Mafia was there, Gary was there, Dylan, Sodak was there.
Dylan, are you like an always a groomsman, never the groom type of scenario, or are you already married?
Yeah, Joe, you gotta go. It was so Too Evil was there. Everybody was there, man. And that was just our first one, dude. We couldn't, I mean, I would have never imagined that we would have gotten all those people there. And it was so cool to meet everybody and all of us just hanging out and stuff. And then, man, obviously, I mean, we keep doing, I don't know, we're just going to grow something fucking cool. We already are online, but like the fact that we can bring it out in real life and just do our own Viking thing. Sick.
Hey, Dylan, I feel you, my man. I feel you. I'm in the same boat. I've been in like 5
That's
weddings.
Right, Joey. I forgot you said you're from the Range area. Sorry, Casey.
Oh, you're good.
But no, yeah, that's right. I forgot you said that you're from the Range area. That's right. Yeah, dude, you're coming out for sure then. See y'all next year. Let's go. That's what I'm saying. Gary knows. Gary was one of the first people we ran into. Dude. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All of us go. I mean, me, Casey, SK, Rap, Dave, and me, Rap, and Dave. We have to and SK. We travel from different states to get there.
Dude,
it's the best. Yeah, and same with Skull Mafia. Skull Mafia was his first plane ride. I'm pretty sure, right, Skull? It was your first plane ride, and it was to get to Skullfest.
And then me and Jamie went golfing the day before, and I kicked his ass. It was all good.
He didn't kick my ass. I mean, he might have.
Hey, you figure out around the greens, and you're going to be just fine.
I wasn't having the best. I mean, it was probably one of the best or one of the worst chipping performances of all time, to be honest.
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
Otherwise, it wasn't so bad. I'll just take a whole month. Hey, that works. That should work. You'll have all kinds of time.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, anything else?
Oh yeah, Skull Mafia. Oh, dude, we're getting you on stage for sure. You're the official hype. I think all our giveaways should be you. I think any of our giveaways during those shows should be you. That was sick, dude. That was so sick. And I wish Skull for Life was in here. But that just whole situation with Skull Mafia on the platform or whatever, the stage, and then picking the person to go to the game, and it was Skull for Life, dude. That was such a sick experience. Naked this time, you creep. I'll just think, oh my. But all right, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for hopping in.
Congrats, Barbara. We'll get that out to you.
Absolutely, man.
Yours should be on it.
We appreciate the $5. We appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody else for hopping in here tonight. Wednesday we'll be on the Skull Experience with Dave, back from his vacation. I'm sure we'll get filled in on how that all was and start talking some more football. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Skull Vikes.